GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. Hey, welcome everybody. Starting the show off here. We'll get going officially. We'll start it off over on Amazon. Got the little co-host here helping us out. We'll be back after the Amazon portion to chat with y'all again. I do have that fan on, so hopefully it's not too distracting. Hey, buddy. Hey, little guy. Hey, ready to start the show? All right, we're going to pull him out of here since he's being gross, and we'll get the Amazon started up here. Oh, now he's back. Are you back? We'll get the Amazon started up. Well, before we get going, get this guy a little Nutro peanut butter snack. All right, now we'll see what's happening. Got somebody joining us? Oh, Saab is out there. Good afternoon. I should probably put a link over in the place or something, huh? Actually, I'll put a link to. Can I link to the? No, I can't. I don't need this open. I don't need this open. I don't need that open. I'll bust this open. Head over to here. And we'll click on the live. And is there a way to give people a more direct link? Maybe this. Boom, here's a link to the straight up Amazon stream if you'd like to join us over there. And then I'll drop a link over in the place for the stuff. Look at that little dog. Look at that little dog. Look at that little dog. Looks like Gizzard is playing with his stuff. Let's go see what Gizzard did. See what Gizzard did? He added a chicken right here. He's got a chicken in front of his name now. If it was a squeaky chicken, this dog would be looking. He's not looking. All right, thanks, Gizzard, for joining in earlier. I'm going to close this window. Come on, where's my mouse? Close this window. It looks like we're all good to go. We're going to start up on the Amazon. We'll get rid of this dog. We'll put this dog down. And welcome everybody to our live stream. Whoa, we got an echo going on. Welcome to our live stream. How many echoes do I have going? Oh, I got Amazon open twice, so that's what happened. So welcome to our Amazon Echo live stream. So thanks everybody for joining us live. Today's episode, as you might have seen as we started up here with the thumbnail, the banner, and the scrolling through the items, we're going to be talking about our phone gear. So we're content creators, go around traveling quite a bit, spend 100% of the time playing show and tell on the internet, going live with things like this. Now, right now, I'm at a location with a webcam and a computer, this computer, but we use phones for all this stuff as well. What we're going to be talking about is our phones, the accessories that we use with our phones, the tools that we use with our phones, and then how we use our phones. So some different things that hopefully give you some ideas, not just for yourself, but for something you might do next, or some growth with your content creation. And perhaps as gifts, if you give gifts to people who create content, this might be some ideas in here for that as well. So we do this live, and if you have any concerns, questions, comments as we're streaming along here, let us know. Where's the link for one of these puppies? They do not sell these on Amazon, unfortunately. You can get stuffed animal versions. I should probably do a stream. We're going to play 3-Pug Monty here, and you're going to have to see if you can keep up with which one is the real pug. So he thinks these are his toys, but we could do a stream sometime with these. Which one's the real one? 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 You can't tell, can you? It's this one. It's the stinky one. All right, so this isn't a stream for him. I don't know how this got off topic, but we're here to talk about the phones. Let's stay on topic here. Nobody needs to talk about puppies when we're here to talk about phones. So let's dig in. The first thing we've got is the phones themselves. And it's kind of good that I'm not filming this on phones because it'd be really difficult to film it on themselves. So the first thing we got is a Galaxy. I'm a big fan of Androids. We do have one Apple in here, so I'm not against Apple. I just prefer the Androids. You can see I've got a normal size hand here, and this phone is normal size, so it's large. This is a cool case on the outside that gives me a place to put my finger, keep the phone in control. I can use it as a kickstand, sometimes to tether it to a stick or something sometimes too. So great cameras. That's the first thing I like about this phone. The size is the size I'm looking for, but then the cameras are great on this phone. My plan was to have all this stuff listed out, and I didn't do it. I do have a piece of paper that lists out the specs on these phones. So give us some feedback, and perhaps in the future I'll do more of a spec specific chat about this. But in general, this phone gets carried around, and it is used for content creation because of its amazing cameras and the amount of power this phone has. This is a great phone. It's the Samsung A71. It is by no means the most fancy phone out there. It is super capable for all kinds of content creation, for YouTube, for Instagram, for live streaming. It's been excellent for all those things. Now, my other phone, the phone I use is an actual telephone. I guess I should say this phone is essentially just a camera and a mobile app device. I don't really connect this to, I don't use it as a telephone. I connect it to the internet, but only through Wi-Fi, right? Now, if I'm using this phone, this is to get out to the world. This phone has an internet connection. This phone has it is a telephone and has a service in it. And that's just essentially on these modern phones, well, phones that are any kind of modern phone, it's just a matter of pulling out the SIM card. The SIM card is the thing that you get from your phone company, putting it into this phone instead of this phone. I decided that this phone had better cameras. I would use this as my camera, and this phone was super capable. Really nice cameras. This is the TCL, very economical phone. So for me, I don't need a fancy phone to carry around. I like the size of this one and the feature, and this thing's capable to do anything I need it to do. It's just that the cameras on it aren't quite as fancy. Hey, buddy, let's come on. The cameras on it ain't quite as fancy, so the price on it is a lot lower. So that's two of them. I guess we'll quickly turn the puppy as we start to accumulate. Okay, you're good. Now he's going down. We're putting this guy down. All right, we're up. You're welcome, buddy. So we'll start to lay things out here on the counter as we accumulate some of the tech we'll be talking about. So these are our two workhorse phones. However, they're by no means the only phones we're using. So the next thing in the list, I should have had this locked onto the TCL. Sorry about that. The next thing is pretty cool. This is it. This one, yeah. That's this one that's being charged right now, and it's at 12%. So I didn't think to charge this one up before the show, but we'll power this guy up. This one is the Galaxy Edge, I think they call it, the Note 9. So this one is in a pink color. This one was donated to our projects from our friend Pink Panther, and this was kind of a hand-me-down. So we went with the pink, which looks super nice. It's T-Mobile, so when it pops up here and we get it going, does everybody keep a code on their phones so that they don't have to worry about security issues as much? This one is USB-C, and this one is, I call it the Edge because it has this edge on it. Now this one we use most often as a streaming camera and mobile app device. So if I've got drones flying or some other kind of an app that requires cameras or requires some sort of okay, this thing wants to connect to some kind of a system. This one isn't a telephone. It's just connecting to the Wi-Fi wherever it is. And this one's neat because I think it's shutting down because it doesn't have enough power. But this one's neat because of the edge. You've got this second keyboard that can pop up. And you saw how easy it is to bring that up. And I guess you just tap to get rid of it, but you just bring that up from the edge. So a lot of phones used kind of a flat surface. This one uses a curved surface, and that curved surface gives you some extra accessibility. Like I say, we end up using this phone because we have others. We end up using this phone for specific tasks, but obviously this is a decent phone, strong, really capable cameras, and lots of options for cases. You'll notice all of our phones have cases. I don't think we linked to all the cases. We'll probably link to one of them here or two of them. But I think cases are really a necessity at this point. And let's get to this iPhone next. And this one doesn't have a case yet. And this is why I say I really like cases. This thing seems so fragile, just holding, even though it's made out of metal and it's sturdy. It's heating up quite a bit, and we're using it to stream right now. That's why you're getting the kind of mirror and a mirror version here. But I would rather have it in a case. Cases give you a little bit different material, different structure to hold on to, and they've got a different shape to them. Now, this one literally has a thing for me to hold on to, but it's also got some shapes built into it. The corners are built up for protection, but those also give you vectors to hold on to. This phone's a lot smaller, and I end up dropping it all the time. I don't like touching the screen because so much of it uses the touch screen that I'm looking for more to hold on to on the edges. But this is our iPhone. We're using an iPhone 6S. For me, it's a lot smaller than the other phones I'm used to. So to me, it seems like a smaller thing. I guess for some people, depending on how you're carrying it and what pocket and that kind of thing, this could be the phone for you. I know there's larger iPhones as well. Value-wise, we needed an iPhone to be able to do this streaming on Amazon. And this was the option that worked. 6S from iPhone. We'll leave that here, I guess, even though it's sort of picture in a picture at this point. How can it possibly be asking me for another download? Sorry, I'm watching my browser complain about something. I think I'm going to go ahead and continue to charge the Note 9 and let it continue to charge just in case we wanted to use it again. I didn't include chargers or cables in this discussion, but fairly obvious. Most phones come with a charger and a cable, and the chargers that come with most of the phones I have are decent, uh, high enough amp chargers that they can charge quickly. But getting backup chargers is always a good idea. We're going to need to use this phone as we go along here. So the next one is the LG G8X. This is a super cool phone, and I probably should have connected or included this little magnetic device. Oops, this little magnetic device, a super strong magnet, just snaps on here. I think it can go on either way. Your USB-C goes in that side, and now you've got like this super easy, it's strong, it's a good magnet, but a nice breakaway version of charging. So this is the Galaxy, or the LG G8, and it's the G8X Thin Q. Let's talk about how awesome this thing is. I charged it up all last night, so it should be good to go. Boom! You seeing what you're seeing there? This is a dual screen. So let me get the code in here. This is a dual screen in the regards that this is a phone in a case, and then this is a case that provides a dual monitor. And I think the phone needs to be part of this whole thing. I don't think you can just go around buying cases like this. This was a phone designed to be part of this whole situation. So now I can effectively have things that I can move over. I could drag one of these things and put it over on the other monitor. Of course, it's not going to happen while I'm trying to do it right here, but you can think of it as an extended monitor, another desktop, if you want to think of it that way. For larger things, for the drone, it creates a whole different level of screen options. And then when you close it, you've got uh, smart options coming out the front. And I forget all the different options, but think about this much of it as a screen on this side. So it does kill some battery life. I think there is some battery in here, but it still works like a regular phone. You still get quite a bit of battery. I'm not sure about games and things. I haven't used this one to its full potential, but this is a neat one. So this is two parts. You buy the phone, and then you buy the case for it. We'll flip this one over this way, and all the buttons are on the phone part, and the extra screen doesn't really have any buttons or anything. Next up in the list of things we're going to be talking about is the case for this guy. So the case and the phone are separate. Then there's the selfie ring. And I thought these things were gimmick. I thought these things were for kids. They probably are, and they probably are. However, if you're creating content and you don't have one of these, ding, 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 ding. This is a cheat. This is a cheat code. These things are awesome. I'm going to blind you right now. Maybe I don't have it on that bright, but you got levels of brightness. You've got different warmths or colors of light or whatever you want to call this. Like this one cycles through about 4 different colors and then all different levels of brightness. Essentially, you have this ring of LEDs that provide a consistent flood of light. You've got this real sturdy, this particular one, UBZ. I mean, I'm sure there's better, I'm sure there's worse. This one is the one I tried, and it is super strong. I mean, it seems like, oh, it's flimsy or whatever, but this is decent polymer. It is flimsy because you're dealing with big pieces of plastic being held together by just individual screws here and there, but it's been fairly rugged. I'm using it with this larger A71 phone most of the time, although because of the way that it's set up, any phone will work in here. You have screws. So right now I was flipping it back and forth between horizontal and vertical, but you can do horizontal, vertical, or anything in between. And then you have these screws with clamps with rubber shoes. So now you put this guy in here, the rubber can take up a certain amount of the play, and you can see I don't even have to tighten to get the phone kind of in there and in position. And if I really want to make sure, a little quarter tighten and it's good to go. A little bit of a loosen. I can pick the phone out of there if I need to, but I'm pretty certain, unless it falls over or something, that phone isn't going anywhere. And this is not a lightweight phone. This is a real deal phone with a lot of good cameras. Cameras come out over here. If I really wanted, I could choke it up and do something different, but for me, this kind of works. I guess there's something else to mention. It has power, so you don't have to depend on batteries or anything. I don't even think there is a battery option. With as bright as these LEDs are, you go straight to power. This is power to power, so this goes to an actual plug-in 100. Okay, so everything's all wrapped up over here. This thing goes to 120 volt, a real plug, which I think is a bonus. A lot of my ring lights that I have that I bought before this one were USB. Sounds like a great idea until you start using up all your USB ports and you figure out that you're just not going to get 5 volts, which you can get out of 120 volts. So this thing, again, hidden value for anybody that's doing content. It's a little clunky to drag around. I guess I'll mention this particular one. I mean, the ring light is a ring light, and the tripod stand thing is its own little combo. We've linked to this particular combo, the one that we use, and it has this stand that as I'm collapsing it is a monopod, I guess. That's like one stand. And then at the very bottom, you've got a tripod thing going on, and it's one of these that'll sort of self-collapse on itself. And it won't get any smaller than this, but it stands as tall as a person with only this bottom at the bottom without being a huge tripod, which a normal thing that would stand as tall as a person would be a pretty giant tripod, a big teepee looking thing. With this, you could put some sandbags or some weight, put your bag, your backpack or your pouch or whatever onto this as a weight if you need to. You got really secure things here. You slide out, reclamp it, slide out, reclamp it. And again, this thing is now as tall as a person. This brings it up over most people's heads. And then this last one lets you do top down if you really wanted to. It's a really lightweight yet sturdy piece of kit. Like I say, it's one of the secret weapons of creating content. Gives you enough light with the right temperature or quality or whatever that light gives you decent quality production level that you don't need to edit and do a lot of work with the video when you're done. All right, next thing is it's a holder for the phone, but this is for a little different use, and this is for a vehicle. So depending on how you drive or when you drive, and if you're using your phone to connect to your what I'm trying to say, the radio or stereo in your car or not, and if you're using your phone as a map system. So we've got a couple of other phones, and I guess I didn't even bring it out, but one of the smaller phones that we've got is essentially a dedicated GPS. It's like hooks up to the OBD2 sensor. This one's got Gas Buddy, some other apps that would be more appropriate for driving. And this phone can snap in here. And this is a little bit smaller phone than some of the others. It's a little bit bigger than an iPhone still, because iPhones are so tiny. And in a case, it still connects on both at the bottom and on the sides. A little concerned because it connects over the buttons. So a lot of times you need to choke up on these types of phones and just choke up on the bottom there so that your buttons become exposed again. Still super sturdy. You can see it wraps all the way around. So it's going to adjust this way. So depending on how you've got this in your cup holder, so you've got a couple of different cup holders going on, you put this in, and as you screw this part, these parts of the cup holder are going to come out and squish into the cup holder and become a strong foundation in that cup holder. And this thing's getting all goofy because the rubber's coming off, but you get the idea. So you screw this until it's tight, and that tightens into the cup holder. And now you can, I believe you can move it up here, maybe not, but you've got this flexible shaft. And then once you get it into position, you've got this adjustment. And it's sturdy enough to stay, but let's say you're reaching over to get to the glove box or something, it's not so sturdy that things are breaking. So really handy, really sturdy phone holder for, again, using GPS, using a map, using hands-free phone, I'm sure would work for this, or just have this thing set up to connect, Bluetooth it into the brains of your robot car. On the back, you've got one button that kind of opens the gate on the bottom part. And then you've got a button up here, which does the same on the sides. So depending on, if you don't necessarily want to readjust everything, but if you want to have the thing, the robot hand here, release the phone to you, you just come in the back and hit this, and it's going to release the phone. Next time you put it in, you just squish these things together, and that relocks it. super strong lockup. This is rubber, and this is rubber, so they do a good job of probably vibration, but also just kind of being a more tactile connection to your phones. I'm going to pull this one off because I don't really have this phone linked on here. This is just an older, smaller phone. The next thing after the phone holder, though, is going to be Adobe, the Adobe software. That's what we use for the thumbnail on this. The Adobe software, if I bring up any of the phones, really, they all have the Adobe software on them. You can, when you have the subscription with Adobe, you just have as many logins as you need, I guess. So here's the Adobe Express, super fast thumbnail, video project software. You can see all of our different thumbnails and stuff that we've made in here. You can kind of test. I couldn't tell on this one that says thick here. Where was it? There was a couple of places here where you'll see we've got like 8 different versions of the thumbnail because I'm testing, does that look better than that? And you can use the software to zap out 5 different versions and then zoom in and see, okay, that one stands out, that one doesn't. That was muddy, that one was clear. Super fast software. It's in the cloud to some extent, so you do have an app on your phone, but you also have apps in your computers and other ways to connect these things. You can share projects with people. I don't do too much of that unless we're talking about client work. But just for the ability to have the same data on your phone as on your computer and be able to just do the work here, save it, have it here immediately, makes it super easy to do things like the thumbnail to this video. So there's ways to do free software and there's ways to buy portions, but my suggestion is with Adobe, I use the video editing software, I use the Illustrator software, I use the InDesign publishing software. Now I'm using the Adobe Express. Those are 4 that I use daily, just about. So if you're content creating, these are powerful tools that have a lot of resources as far as training and learning. You can get up training on Adobe products from lots of different people. So not only is there a lot of education, but the different people offer the education, which I find useful. This one I have to go grab. I have it in the bag over here. I keep this in our kind of mobile bag, the bag that we use when we're traveling with the drones. And whenever we're traveling with the drones, of course, we're using the phones, the various phones for the screens to see what the drones are doing as they're flying. But then we're also using the phones to film B-roll. And one of the ways to get excellent B-roll or to up your B-roll game is to get a gimbal. So the same type of gimbal that we would have in smaller version on a drone, a flying drone, we can put, again, I use that smaller camera usually, although I guess I'll use this large one to show you that this gimbal is totally able to deal with large cameras as well. So a drone or a gimbal has, essentially it removes the movement and shakiness from video. So right now it's kind of locked in to give it a kind of better storage. But now that it's free, so I unlocked it from this orientation right here. Once it's free, then it's kind of got a gyroscope thing going on. It's kind of just has weight and a pendulum thing happening. So now the carriage or the place where you put the phone is free. And now I'm going to find this dimension and I'm going to find this dimension and I'm going to open this so that this gets a little bit longer. And this has to get longer because it can't close. It has to close up in order to lock. So they're a little bit fragile. I like to keep them in their case, or at least I keep mine in its case. And with its foam insert, it's nice and protected. All right, so I should have had the gimbal locked down here. So that's the gimbal. Next, we come up with another option when you're using your phones to blog or you're making videos that are going to have some kind of descriptions, using the pop-ups keyboards or some of the other keyboard options. I've got a smaller keyboard option here that we'll talk about in a second. Having these portable keyboards, though, is the way to go. Now, this one's large enough. It's not so large that it has a separate keypad off to the side, a number pad off to the side. But it does, you just Bluetooths in, you turn it on, Bluetooth it to whatever phone you want to Bluetooth it to. And now you're typing with real keyboard, real keys, and this just charges up like anything with a USB charger. That one's fairly large. It's thin, doesn't weigh much. It's about smaller than a license plate, kind of thin. Works great though. But then, did I link to this other guy? Oh yeah, I did. Just linked it too far down here. But is this it? Yeah. So this is another smaller keyboard. And this I really liked back in the day when I had some smaller phones, like that one I mentioned before. This thing worked great here because it's a bunch of rubber keys. It charges up and you can turn it off. It's a bunch of rubber keys. So I would put it with the phone, slide it into a pocket, and it essentially was a bit of a keyboard, a screen protector. And at the same time, if I ever needed it, a much easier to use keyboard. So this one, nowhere near as handy, in my mind, for real typing as this guy. But this little dude, you can hold it and type like this pretty darn quick. And once you get used to it, this thing is pretty decent. So those aren't real expensive, and they definitely add some functionality to the phones. And if you're using a bunch of phones, these kind of things attach to all the phones via Wi-Fi. Okay, so it kind of went out of order there. I guess I'll say hey to Gunpowder Beauty. Notice that Gunpowder Beauty is joining us over on the YouTube side. Good afternoon. I also have Snob out here on the YouTube side and Gizzard over on the Amazon side. Thanks everybody for watching us live. Again, any questions, comments, feel free to leave them. We'll address what we can. We appreciate the people that follow us on Amazon and give us the hearts over there. Lets us know what we're doing is worthwhile. We're not trying to get you to buy something you don't want, but if we can help you make a decision based on our experience, that's the goal. And then maybe offer a couple of tips or something along the way. All right, so after that keyboard, the next thing on the list is the OtterBox Defender, and I believe that's this one. And these things are super nice. Essentially, don't need any fancy tools or anything. You just, well, see what I do there. You pull the phone away from the I'm trying to say the cover, and it leaves a hole for your cameras. I'm gonna, as you see, I keep a business card and a $5 bill in there. I'm cheap because I don't have any much more to put in there, but it's a emergency money. But also, if somebody finds your phone, it's a way that they can give you a call, contact you right away, and ask me why I know about that. So what it also does is once it's back on, it gives a lip. So now I can easily set this thing down with, I know I'm not setting my glass down, I'm not scratching it, because it's this edge that's being put down. And that I really, really like. So this part, I don't have enough fingernails to pick this thing out of here all the time, so I added a little thing there to be able to pick that off a little easier. But this, if I'm sticking this out the window while I'm driving, well, not while I'm driving, but while I'm in a vehicle, moving vehicle, if I'm sticking this over the edge of a railing with a big drop off, or I'm sticking this underneath something to look back up, having a grip on the phone is one thing, but having a finger through a ring that's attached to the OtterBox, whole nother thing. So really dig these cases. This is the one I linked to, but there's a case on every one of these phones. There's different preference out there. I really like these clear ones. I'm going to put this one back on. Again, keep the business card in there so that the phone itself is a little smooth, and I'm concerned about setting it down, right? So this is a flexible soft case, and it didn't have any kind of a back thing. So what I do is I put this business card in there, drop the phone in, and it's a great clear case. You can just see the business card through the back of the phone there. And then I didn't link to them, but these are adhesive, super strong, like 3M adhesive strips with this little piece of Velcro. Now there's also a kickstand on here that I never use to watch videos or whatever, but mainly just having this little elastic thing, again, gives you that ability to comfortably hold the phone in lots of different ways without having it fall out of your hands. Let's see, so that was the cases, and like I say, I'm linked to the OtterBox, but I think, I don't know, let me know in the description what you think, or in the comments, but I really think a case is a must-have for a phone. Oh, see my internet kicked out or whatever here. So sorry if there's any internet interruptions here. You can kind of see it live on the iPhone, what's happening. The next thing we're going to chat a bit about are these microphones. And I'm not using them because I'm not on a phone right now. But if I was on a phone, I could take, let's say if I was using this phone, which was probably the one I would use, the A71, and I would plug this little dude into the bottom there. This little thing is going to wirelessly with Bluetooth connect to these little guys, which are the microphones. So I would push the button to turn this on. And again, thanks to Pink for donating these to the channel. Turn them on, they sync up, and now this is a microphone to the phone, and I can link this to my tie or my collar or wherever, somewhere near me. And there's a second one, so I could turn this one on. It's also going to link to the same device and give this to somebody else. Now they can have the other side of the conversation. When you put them back into the case here, those little metal spikes at the bottom are on springs, and that way they charge every time you put them back in here. I guess I probably should have turned them off first. But these parts will charge every time you put them back in the case. This doesn't need to charge when you put it back in the case. And then the case has a battery in it, and then you can just charge the case every once in a while. There's a series of lights someplace that open up. I think it's up here. Series of lights that'll display on how charged or how empty the batteries are for the microphones. I've seen these used in windy conditions, in very noisy and windy conditions, and then in areas, and they just do a great job of isolating the person who's they're closest to and giving that straight to the phone. So great upgrade for anybody that's, again, creating content with the phone and wants something that's just another level of assurance that it's going to be good quality. Along those lines, we've also, oh, you know what? I think I was actually linking there to an actual microphone, sorry. So let's say that you want to go the old-fashioned way. And let's say you've got a phone that still has a microphone jack, like this one does. You can go with a wired mic as well. And these are essentially the same things, only there's no Bluetooth required. You just plug straight into whatever phone you're going to be using, and you clip this to your tie or your collar. And now you've got, again, a microphone that's listening just to whatever specifically around it. I've used this for narrating a bunch of different things over the years, and it works great. I think that's what we actually have up on the screen right now. So the next thing is that little Bluetooth keyboard that we already talked about. And next on the list would be the way that we have wireless. So of all these phones that we use kind of regular basis, this one is the only one that's a telephone. That, I pay a monthly service fee to have it be a telephone. Now this telephone can tether. This telephone can become a hotspot and become the internet for all these other telephones when we're on the road. But I can also choose, or you could also choose, to go with one of these type of things. Now this is a T-Mobile. I don't know if these are around anymore, but this is a mobile hotspot. So you would get this has a SIM card up here. If we open up the top here and take a look, there's a SIM card. And you'd get the SIM card from your carrier, from your internet telephone carrier, plug that into this device, and it's a single job machine. Its job is just to grab that internet from the cell carrier and provide it as a Wi-Fi hotspot. So now all of these phones would just connect to this, and this thing would have a monthly service to a cable company, or a cell phone company. This one's being carried around in a little old BlackBerry kind of pager case, but you clip this to the visor of a vehicle, put this in a pouch in a backpack, put this even just on the in a drawer or something in a house, and you've got additional backup, and you've got travel internet anywhere you go. These things are super handy. I've been using this one and the other one for 11 years now. Super nice to have internet everywhere you go. Gizzard is saying he has a set of mics very similar to this one. and that the charging case is very handy. I know he's used them in environments where he's been using them for like a week at a time. So I'm sure in that kind of environment, being able to use your microphones and then put them in the case while you're going to the next event or the next conversation gives them a chance to charge. And then at the end of the evening, you charge up your case. And real practical use of energy for a situation where if you just depended on the microphones, you'd have to carry dozens of them around, I imagine. Let's see. Next thing is the super shields. So most of these phones, if you take a close look at the screen, this thing has another layer of glass on it. And it's something I never did until recently. But essentially, you take your phones and you put another layer of super strong glass on there. And it doesn't add any additional problems with the conductive or impedance or whatever it's called. So you can still touch the screens just fine. But if something does scratch or something hurts the screen, you've got a sacrificial layer. And I've seen that be effective for direct hits where it'll spider the original, instead of the spidering the original glass, it spiders the additional glass. But more often I've seen a scratch or something where you put it somewhere and a scratch happens. And then that scratch is on the extra layer and you just peel that off, put the new one on, you're good to go. Most of the time those come with a couple of screen protectors. So very economical, especially compared to what a replacement of a phone would be. So it's something that most people I know are using, so I recommend them as well. There's the microphones again. Next up is the earbuds. So kind of a complement to Bluetooth microphones would be Bluetooth headphones. And I think iPhone people have been using these for a long time. I don't know about other people, but they can be useful. Again, in loud environments, if you're going to have earphones or ear muffs on, having these on underneath your ear muffs connected to your phone lets you hear when the phone's ringing, lets you listen to a radio or something, lets you potentially monitor your live streams and stuff like that. So there's lots of different form factors out there at this point. This particular type kind of fits into your ear in a way, and then this little wing kind of fits into the outside, whatever you call that part of your ear, where this one is more of like the Apple style. It just jams in your ear and hangs out. I was using these for a while, and they both do the same thing. They charge when they're in the case, and you charge the case itself. But I went with this style. I just feel this more comfortable to my ear, and I think that's probably just a human interface issue. You know, what you like hanging out of your ear or not, or if you don't even like something hanging out of your ear. There's also, I guess, some color. Some people are going to want a white thing hanging out of their ear. Some people don't want a black thing hanging out of their ear. All right, so some of the other, we're getting into the accessories and practical uses for the phone. And one of those has been these endoscopic cameras. So this is a camera. Looks like a piece of wire, but it's really a camera. So I'm going to grab the one that has a USB-C end on it. We'll plug it into this phone, and this phone has an app on it that I use to interface with the camera. And it's a fairly generic interface. Let's see, I'm going to have to take it out of the case for this particular cord. It doesn't like the phone case. So, come on. We'll plug this thing in, and what you'll see is the light will go on right away as soon as we plug it in. So now there's a light on here. This is essentially like a medical type of camera. So it says open, blah, blah, blah. I would say okay, and now find the app, and there we go. There's I could do video here, I could do images. If I needed to shove this down a pipe or into some kind of hole in the desert to see what might be living down into something. If I want to see what's going on underneath this laptop, it has a light there. So looking up at the ceiling, looking straight into this camera. That's the camera that we're filming on. And you can see it's looking straight back at that camera. And that's what's showing up on the screen over here. Really neat if you've seen people shove cameras down into barrels or down through pipes, like I say, under something like this laptop to see what kind of bug or critter might be under there, what's making all that noise. These little cameras are the way to go. I have a couple of them. This one is the long one. I don't remember, 100 something yards. I also have the 25 yard one or 25-foot one or whatever. Essentially, it's just however much cord there is, and yeah, that's about it. So super handy, super fun, and not real expensive. So I recommend if you need to sacrifice one for a good video, maybe sacrifice one. Anyhow, that's here nor there. So we're going to close out of there. The only real difference between them is type of connection. This one has a bunch of different connections actually, but sometimes notice when you're buying them if they're the right connection for your phone. Gizzard is saying he loves that camera. I don't know if you've seen those before. They were kind of the fad for, I don't know. I think around 2015 or something like that. They were kind of a fad in the community because we were all looking down our barrels and stuff with them. I'm going to put this case back on just to show you. I had to take the case out because the cutout down here for the charger that camera didn't like it. It needed more room around it. It was fat. So I took it out of the case and then I was able to use it. But now I'm putting it back into the case because it protects the camera. And I wanted to show you that it's that easy. Back in the day, I've had some cases that were pretty elaborate coming on and off the phone, but that fast going on and off. And now I can much more comfortably set this thing down. Oh shoot! Some of the stuff that I forgot to add to it, I was going to add this. What's this thing called? The GoPro. Because the GoPros, at least my version of the GoPro, there's no screen on the back. So I don't know what's going on with my GoPro, but I can run a GoPro app on the phone and see what's happening on my GoPro, turn it on and off, stop the video, start the video, that kind of thing. And I consider this an accessory to my phone as much as I consider the phone a necessity for the GoPro. Similar to the drones. Drones are neat, but if you're not seeing what the drone's seeing, just a whole nother different level of interesting. When you can see what the thing's seeing and get a good video right away, much more effective, much more productive. Couldn't find my mute button. Sorry about that. Got some people saying, hey, thanks for that. So let's see. We've got the next thing that I did remember to connect was the batteries. So I've actually got a battery for my S5. One of my favorite phones ever was this rugged Samsung Galaxy S5. Super strong phone, allegedly made for the military, and a ruggedized phone. And sometimes new phones you can't do this with, but on these old phones, one of the things I appreciated about them was you could change out the batteries. And at some point, a battery would die off. So having the ability to swap out batteries was pretty awesome. This is the replacement battery. You could get larger batteries or more runtime type of batteries, but you could also just have multiple batteries. So again, Gizzard's out here. We've been talking about doing some coverage of events that are week long, plus all the extra events. So more than a week of having to cover things. And back in the day, our phones just couldn't handle that. They still have some challenges with that. And if a phone has no replaceable battery or removable battery, you don't have the option of carrying around like 4 or 5 batteries. So even if you don't need them all, the peace of mind of having enough batteries for something that's also your camera, that's also your social media app and everything, I really think that's a great selling point of the Androids for a long time. Really don't know where the Apples are on that right now, or whatever they're called, the Macintoshes are. But here's an example of a phone case that was more elaborate. You had to take this rubber part apart from the rest of it, put that on first, and then you could put this shell back on. And it's a strong, durable case, and it has a kickstand, but I added some elastic to be able to give me that grab also. Anyway, this was an older phone. I didn't link to it, but we did link to the battery for that whole idea that swapping out batteries, if you can have extra batteries for your phone, consider upgrading them. And it's also one of those things where if your phone's taking too long to charge or whatever, and you can, just consider a new battery. You can get a new battery, give that phone a lot of extra life before you have to consider a new phone, really. So something else that I consider an accessory to a phone are these powered Bluetooth speakers. Phones can be pretty loud, especially when you put them on a case that's got a kickstand, and they get a chance to kind of bounce the sound around on a table or something. But these little speakers that are designed to do it, a lot of times they've got something built into them that give them just all the right mechanics to get good sound. They're rechargeable. You just turn them on, and they're going to sync up with whatever phones you've got synced to them. One of the nice things about having multiple phones is your main phone doesn't have to be your music phone. Or if that's the phone you use all the time and you want music on it, go for it. But you could have a dedicated phone, and then have one that is dedicated to blow the sound out to that guy. And now the phone itself doesn't have to waste the batteries on the volume or just waste its own energy making the volume. Last up is another charger, or maybe the only charger we've talked about. We talked about batteries, we haven't talked about chargers. So there's lots of different chargers, and I just personally like this one. I linked to it on the Amazon side. This is one that's from Mobile Spec, and it's cool because often they're kind of dumb. This one, you plug it in and it gives you a reading of what's going on with your electrical system, and then once you plug something into it, you know that it's charging and where it's at. I just like smart chargers better than other chargers. I mean, they're not a necessity or anything, but once you've used smarter chargers, it's just more peace of mind. And plus, you notice this thing will go from blue to orange, for example, when it's charging or when it's just sitting there. So at least for my vehicle, the van, when stuff gets knocked or bumped around, sometimes the charger comes unplugged or sometimes the device gets unplugged, and the indicator on the charger lets you know if everything's working or if it's not. Because if you're on 25-minute drive to a place and you need 30 minutes for that phone to charge, you don't want to get there and find out that it's been not charging for 15 minutes. Kill your whole schedule for the day. So something like a smart charger, something like some of these other accessories, hopefully will keep you from wasting time, give you more abilities with the phones, and maybe more fun with the phones, so a little more creativity. I've also got a pink Kong over here, which isn't in the list, but I imagine some little puppy put that here. So let's go backwards and take a look at the stuff we've been checking out today. Chargers, a smart charger for the vehicle. I find handy. You can get adapters that give you 2 cigarette lighters out of 1, and then again, getting an accurate reading or some kind of indication of the volts and the amps and stuff is better than guessing. So smart chargers. Then we've got this thing's about to run out of battery, I think, or else it's just complaining because it's not connected to anybody yet. But the rechargeable wireless Bluetooth speakers, especially if you're listening to music all day long, or something like a scanner. A lot of people dedicate a phone to listening to their local police and fire scanners. Having something like this lets you turn the volume up on here without having to mess with that phone. We've got the endoscopic cameras. Super cool. Like Izzard said, fun. I really got them mostly for when we go out in the desert, and I'm wondering if this is some kind of mammal down this hole. Is this a snake down this hole? Is this a spider down this hole? Let's find out what's down this hole or what's underneath that log or something. I haven't had a chance to go out and use them for that yet, but that's my goal with those endoscopic cameras. Then we've got your wireless earbuds for monitoring what you're doing, listening to your phone or your radio or your music or a podcast or something underneath of hearing earmuffs, or for cold, or ear protection for volume. If you're in a work environment that's loud, having these underneath can make the time go by a lot better. The wireless microphone, which, as Gizzard said, is super useful if you're getting out there and creating content around other people in loud areas or in the outdoors where it can get windy. We've got the screen protectors on pretty much all the phones at this point, which is just another piece of really strong glass, a really thin, really strong glass that it provides a sacrificial layer for scratches or some punctures. We've got the ZTE little mobile device. You get a SIM card, you put it in here, and then you connect all your devices to this. That way your vehicle, your camp, your tent, whatever it is, your hotel room, always has its own internet. It might charge you. I mean, it'll cost something per month from your internet, but like I just have mine. It's like an extra $20 for unlimited internet each month. And then if my internet here at the house goes down, I just jump over to my wireless. We have the little tiny Bluetooth keyboard in the list, and then we've also got the larger white keyboard. This guy is way faster, and it can be a little bit of a screen protector. It can fit into a pouch or a pocket with a cell phone real easily, so it's got a bit of an advantage. I linked to this corded microphone because not wireless microphone is cool, and for a 5, 10, 15, 20-minute interview it works, but I was recording audiobooks, and last thing I wanted to do is get into a rhythm or into a session of recording and then find that the batteries went dead on a wireless device that's rechargeable. So instead, thanks to Barbecue out there sent me this a long time ago, this just plugs straight into the jack, super good quality, super long wire, and it's a flexible enough wire that it doesn't bother you too bad. And for long-term recordings, this is the way to go, the only way to go. You don't have to worry about batteries or anything. Let's get rid of this flashing light. Maybe. Let's see. The next thing in the list was the OtterBox. So again, each of these phones has its own case on it, and sometimes it's for reasons like this one has a second screen, so that's kind of obvious. But some of these it's because of the durability or the ruggedness. This one I don't carry around so much. Otherwise, I would probably opt for an OtterBox that had the retention kickstand type of thing. But again, OtterBox is super strong in this case for the Note 9. And again, you just kind of peel out I always go with the button sides first and then let the plug kind of come out the bottom. It's got a bit of a rubber, and I'm guessing that has something to do with it. It's got all rubber sides. And again, this phone has an edge to it, and that's part of its the whole selling point of this thing is these edges. So this one was a particularly special type of OtterBox cover. But again, you just slip it in. I put the plug-in in first, put the corners in, and it's just in. No extra special nothing. It's super strong. It's got the resistance to damage from falling on the edges or corners. It still does somehow manage to give you, I'm only on rubber here, but because of the way that they give you more rubber on the top and bottom, you've still got access to the edge here. So it's just a great, well-engineered, decent use of materials, both rubber and rigid plastic. What's that called? When they're bonded together to give you the characteristics of each, where you need the tactile stickiness and then the whatever you call it, like the rigidness of the materials. So can't beat OtterBox. I've been around for a long time. Check those out. Then we've got that larger keyboard. Again, if you're really going to be doing any blogging or any kind of work and you're using your monitor as a little tiny screen, then having that at least gives you more screen to look at and easier keys to pound on. Speaking of pounding on keys, we've got the, I'll just pull the whole box over here. We've got the gimbal. Kind of explained how that can make your pans and your rolls and your different camera things much more smooth. And then they can eliminate any of the jostling that you might get from walking or driving in a vehicle, or if you're on a golf cart or something, a hand truck, and somebody's dragging you along, gets rid of a lot of that bounciness. Overmolded. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Gunswater is out there saying overmolded. Gunswater saying, I use a waterproof speaker in the shower. Yeah, exactly. I never even thought about that. This particular one I got here is not waterproof, but that would be really good idea because you're not going to take your phone in there, but you could easily Bluetooth to it. That's a great idea. Again, Gizzard saying great chat. I don't know if I saw that before, but thank you for that. Appreciate it. So we're going through the list on my iPhone here, and you can kind of see how it works behind the scenes. This is running off of something else, but I'm using the iPhone to adjust what's showing up on the Amazon side. So next up is Adobe. I'm a big fan of Adobe. I can use Adobe on all the phones. It's the same as literally the same Adobe that I'm using on my machines, my laptops. So it's helping me to understand cloud stuff and shared files and stuff. It's making things much more effective. Yes, there are ways to do it. Very low cost. You just don't get the benefits of having the Adobe updates, and then the just tons of effort that people have put into training and skill building on the Adobe products. You get that extra advantage when you subscribe to those. So the other thing we're chatting with about here is the ways to use your phones and have them around. And this is the best uh, automobile mount that I've found yet. And I've gone through a bunch, and I've driven in cars with other people, so I feel like I've seen a lot of these. And this one is the strongest this way, that it opens up and expands into your cup holder. So super strong, like you can imagine, you're smashing this into your cup holder. And in my van, which has huge cup holders, this thing still works. Now I do have to take and fold like a piece of notepad around here to fill up a little bit of space. But with that, boom, because of the way that the van has like a weird thing for your coffee cup handle, I think. So anyway, to get rid of that little gap. But otherwise, this thing is super strong, great foundation, and it's a twist. So it's not depending on some kind of something that can come loose. In the van with all the moving around and everything, never had this thing come loose here. Then we've got the neck, super strong, and I've had longer ones that will never stay in position, and I've had ones that were much tighter that would break before, they bend half the time. You really had to hold on to them and make sure that you weren't breaking the whole thing. Whatever reason, they put some effort into this, and this is a decent, strong thing without breaking either end of it. And then I've kind of explained how this top part, you have a button to expand, you just push it closed, but you have a button to open the top. You can do the same with the bottom, but you don't need to. Once you set the bottom to a place, just kind of leave it there. And this being kind of grippy, the edges being kind of grippy, and overall just being strong has been the best phone holder or car automotive holder I've come up with yet. And I have a van, so the way that my cup holders are, and maybe this won't work in your vehicle, but maybe it will. Let's see. The next thing is the ring light. I think, again, the secret of all content creators these days are these ring lights. They're not just for little kids anymore. You can just see, look how nice that is. Even with all the other lighting I've got going on out here, look what the ring light does. Play with the warmth of it a little bit, the brightness of it, but mainly the fact that you can put a phone in here. It's super strong. This particular one, the UB size. I have some others. I have 3 or 4 of these all together. Let's turn this off. I have 3 or 4 of these all together. This is the one that I use all the time. The others I have kind of taken the ring light and snapped it onto something and left it because I didn't use the rest of it. I didn't use it as a ring light. Too small. A smaller ring light is no good. Can't put a decent sized camera in there. Too large, and you're not carrying it around anymore. So whatever size this is, 10-inch or something, 10-inch ring light, this is, in my opinion, the way to go. It burns off of power and not USB. And again, the tripod, whatever you want to call that, riser, is strong enough to hold up phones and everything. Definitely a secret weapon of content creation. Let's see, and economical. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about price, but very economical as far as what that tool can do. Next up is the dual screencast case, and that's the case for this GX8. Is that what it is, a GX8? GX Thin Q. So anyways, super cool. Thanks again to Pink. Been using this one less because I still haven't figured out what to do with it. But then we've got phones for this Note 9. We've got which is a great phone. I've been using this as a task phone for doing video and streaming. We've got the A71. Awesome cameras. This is definitely our camera phone. Do some social apps on it, but mostly photography, video, and that kind of thing. And then this one's the TCL 30, which is super economical. Great little hardy, like rough, decent phone, and great value. Can't beat the value on that one. So that's the G8. Oh, and then we're doing this whole thing on the Apple iPhone 6S, which is too little for me, and it gets hot. But I don't know if that's just me or if that's this phone. It's not new to me. It's new to me, not new. The TCL and the A71. I'd have to say if I had only one phone, I would go with the A71, but it's not cheap. Well, actually, it is pretty cheap. What am I saying? So there's the exact same price as the TCL right now, less than $200. I'm going to go with this one. The cameras on there are amazing, and everything else has been decent. I don't know if there's better phones. I come from a much worse phone into this level of phone, and these have blown me away. these are old phones, so it's possible that new phones are insanely amazing, but they're not at this price point. You could buy everything that we talked about here today for the price of like one brand new phone. Everything we've talked about here for the price of one new phone. This is definitely a frugal, economic way of accomplishing things. Go check out what we do with our stuff. Almost everything we do is made with this telephone right here, and everything that isn't made with this telephone right here was made with this telephone right here. So we don't use cameras, we don't use other stuff. I guess technically we use this webcam for some of the live stuff, but awful lot of live gets done with these Samsung phones. And now a lot of this Amazon Live is being done with this phone. With that, we're going to shut down the Amazon Live side by pushing that red button. And we'll say thanks again to the people joining us over on the Amazon side. We really appreciate the follows, the people that view our videos and purchase stuff over at our, what's that called? Our store over there. And got a bunch of hearts on this video. Thank you for that. We're going to end the stream for Amazon, and then you can see what happens there. Now we're back over to just the YouTube side. So thanks to everybody who's joined us over here on the good side. But any other questions or anything? Ozzy's jumping in at the last minute. Again, if there's anything I missed, I just kind of blab because the Amazon side isn't so much of back and forth, I guess. And I'm not really sure what I'm allowed to say over there. There's rules that I'm getting used to. But the goal is to get people aware of some ways to use a phone that are good, that work, and that aren't really expensive. That's really my goal. Oh, look at it. It auto started the super chat. So thanks again to Gizzard and to Snob. Are those real super chats? I'm not even looking. Or are those just the members saying, hey? I think that's just the members saying, hey. So I do appreciate the channel members. We can put that back up on the screen. I'm scared to put this up when we're on the Amazon side. But the Amazon and the channel members are what make it possible for us to put time into anything out here. And in this case, what happens when people buy some of this stuff or not, if this is lucrative or if this is effective use of time or not. But it's been a while since we've done anything about cell phones. We're going to pull this off the gun side. This was only up to say, hey. So if you want to check this out long term, it's only going to be on the gear side. And of course, Amazon. All right, so John Z is saying no questions, just enjoying it. Right on. Thanks, man. Thanks for being out there. Amazon's just a store, giant store on the internet. So just posting this video over there for people that might be on Amazon to learn a little bit about phones and stuff. Oh, just pulled into a parking lot. Just time for us to end it. Sorry. So, but I've been live for like an hour, and I was chatting with Blizzard and Clover for probably an hour before that, so I need to stop talking and get back to work. Alrighty, so everybody, thanks for joining us again. We're going to throw a commercial up for our store, and then we will be back to pick you up later. If you got ideas for something you'd like to see us do a video like this on, feel free to throw them out there. And I'm trying to do probably one a day for a little while here, trying to address some different like buyer's guides, walkthroughs, whatever you want to call these. Tips and tricks. We'll see you next time.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.